This is All India Radio, Thiruvananthapuram. Good evening, listeners. National Unity Day or Rashtriya Ekta Divas is celebrated in India on 31st October every year. It is the birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who played a major role in the political integration of India. National Unity Day was introduced by the Government of India in 2014. In connection with this auspicious day, today you can listen to an interesting talk by Mr.Sreejith Panickar. He is a researcher, debater, social critic and founder member of Mission Netaji. The topic is Unity in the Modern Context.
Hello everyone. Warm greetings to all of you in advance of the National Unity Day. This is Sreejith Panickar and I am honored to be speaking to you on the All India Radio ahead of this auspicious day. As we know, India is celebrating October 31 as the National Unity Day, commemorating the birth anniversary of the eminent statesman Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, our first Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister. Even before assuming those offices, he had ventured into something that would forever define our territorial integrity. Under his staunch leadership, we could amalgamate more than 560 princely states into the Indian Union. There is perhaps no other leader in India who contributed to our national integration than Sardar Patel. His birth anniversary is duly and gratefully remembered for his efforts in uniting the country. There are many programs that the centre and the states conduct on every National Unity Day, including celebrations, nationwide campaigns, commemorative events, and parades. The Unity Day pledge that we take on this day is a true reflection of the values that Sardar Patel represented. We must dedicate ourselves to preserve the unity, integrity, and security of the nation and strive hard to spread that message among our fellow countrymen. But one might think that Patel's contributions are a thing of the past and wonder what significance they may hold for the present and the future. On that note, I have chosen unity in the modern context as the central theme of my deliberation. I will briefly touch upon three areas. One, on Sardar Patel's contributions to unity. Two, on what his contributions to unity mean to the country. And three, what unity means to all of us in the modern context. Let's take the first one, on what Sardar Patel actually did. Celebrations around the Unity Day would be meaningless if we don't understand what values Sardar Patel stood for. From head to toe, Patel meant diplomacy. He was a proven crisis manager in every sense of the term. The accession of the princely states into the Indian Union was by no means a meager achievement. He had to use diplomacy to the hilt, coax administrators, issue soft threats, and use even brute force when needed to uphold the interests of the nation. It was a wrong notion to think that India's problems would end when we would achieve independence from the nearly 2 centuries of colonial rule. Rather, the problems were only starting. For one, the British had no plan to grant us India in one piece on a platter. It was like a typical Indian curry, with different ingredients, spices, textures, and aroma. India was a mix of several hundreds of diverse princely states, some friendly and some not so friendly with the concept of an Indian Union. Apart from the 17 British Indian provinces, there were more than 560 princely states, taking up 2/5 of the country's geographic territory and accommodating 25% of its population. Although the British Indian provinces were attached to the Indian Union through the Indian Independence Act, the integration of the princely states posed a great challenge. Problems were manifold. Some rulers had genuine concerns over the well-being of their subjects, while some feared they would lose all the power they had hitherto enjoyed. They all resisted the integration. In 1947, the famed Time magazine published Sardar Patel's photo on its cover. In the cover story, they published a map of India showing the princely states and opined that if anyone possessed the capability to unite the country and heal the wounds, it was Sardar Patel. To that effect, the magazine referred to him as the boss. Patel lobbied the rulers of princely states, established dialogues with them, listened to their concerns, broached the topic of a privy purse, won their confidence, and avoided a lot of potential conflicts to shape the edifice of the nation. Of these, the discussions with Travancore were significant as they prompted several other rulers to agree to the merger. Patel's Chai Pe Charcha concept with the monarchs also set the tone for informal dialogues in a casual environment. Save for Jammu and Kashmir, Junagadh and Hyderabad, all other monarchs agreed to his merger plan. The first one was undecided on its loyalty, while the last two wanted to be with Pakistan. Of these, Patel directly handled the situation in both Junagadh and Hyderabad. He sent the forces to Junagadh to occupy several principalities, and the pressure tactics succeeded. Rulers fled to Pakistan, and the forces occupied Junagadh. The kingdom was annexed to the Indian Union following a plebiscite which was heavily in favor of the merger. More resistance came from Hyderabad. At one point, Patel gave up the option of talks and pressed for the unavoidable military action. Operation Polo inflicted heavy casualties on the Kingdom of Hyderabad, forcing the Nizam to sign the instrument of accession to join the Indian Union. For this stupendous achievement of establishing the country's territorial and political integrity, Patel earned the sobriquet India's Bismarck. In a sense, it was Sardar Patel who made the map of India a reality. Through his commitment towards establishing our geography of unity, Patel also earned the more popular moniker, the Iron Man of India. That brings me to my second point. What Patel's contributions to unity mean to India. What Patel did to unite the country became a handbook for Indian diplomacy in the years to come. Insights based on his diplomacy in annexing princely states later propelled the country to formulate strategies to annex protectorates like Sikkim, as well as the French and Portuguese enclaves to India through dialogues, plebiscite, and legal action. Thus, the name Sardar Patel became synonymous with Indian diplomacy and foreign policy. To this day, India practices the doctrine of discussions, pressure, and force in that same order, with an attitude of zero tolerance to any threat, internal or external, to our sovereignty and integrity. In true recognition of his efforts, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru called him the builder and consolidator of New India. Besides integrating internal princely states into the Union, sometimes even by force, he also avenged the attacks from across the border. Patel convinced his colleagues to send forces to Kashmir to help Maharaja Hari Singh fight the invasion from Pakistan. His patriotism, sharp mind, and quick decision-making skills were instrumental in defeating Pakistan in the war that ensued. Even the lack of preparedness as a newly formed country or his own acceptance of Ahimsa principles in personal life did not come in Patel's way of planning a fully fledged military action against Pakistan. As one of the pioneers in formulating India's policies on Kashmir, he said, "I should like to make one thing clear, that we shall not surrender an inch of Kashmir territory to anybody, a stand India has adopted for all times to come." Barely a month before his death, he prophetically wrote a letter to Nehru, warning him that the presence of Chinese troops in Tibet was an indication of their expansion to India's gates. Patel was the one who established the All India services with a view to safeguarding our unity and integrity. He would call the services the steel frame of India. As former Vice President Venkaiah Naidu endorsed, Patel considered the officers of the services as partners in administration and expected them to maintain the highest standards of integrity and honesty. A day after his death in 1950, more than 1,500 services officials gathered in Delhi to pledge complete loyalty and unremitting zeal in India's service. Now we come to the third point. What does unity mean to us in the modern context? By now, I may have preempted myself on this point. While declaring October 31 as the National Unity Day, the Indian government stated that the day provides an opportunity to reaffirm the inherent strength and resilience of our nation to withstand the actual and potential threats to the unity, integrity, and security of our country. Although cliched, I must repeat that unity is strength. Peace and prosperity of a nation can be established only when there is unity among ourselves. The alarming trend of regional supremacy claims that we now witness from several corners does not augur well for the country. India is one. No religion, language, or culture is superior to another. If we ever entertain that feeling, and discriminate others because we think we are superior and they are inferior, we would only be weakening ourselves and drifting into the pre-independent era of more than 560 princely states, each vouching for its separate existence. We should be vigilant against the negative forces that use regionalism to attack our constitution, create unrest in the society, follow discriminative practices, invoke polarization and communal divide, and above all else, harbor enmity. Regionalism is as threatening as separatism, secession, and terrorism. Therefore, the message on the National Unity Day in the modern context is simple. As Patel himself put it way back, every Indian should now forget that he is a Rajput, a Sikh, or a Jat. He must remember that he is an Indian and he has every right in his country, but with certain duties. Isn't that true? When we stand together, we are Indians and not Kashmiris, Bengalis, Gujaratis, or Tamilians. When very recently, Virat Kohli, Hardik Pandya, Arshdeep Singh, Mohammad Shami and others brought a huge smile on our faces by defeating Pakistan in the ongoing T20 Cricket World Cup, did we for one moment think which part of the country they came from, which languages they spoke, or which faith or political ideology they believed in? If the answer is a resounding no, then the bottom line is we are Indians and we should always remain as Indians. We may have individual faiths, languages, and political views, but when we come together, we should collectively identify ourselves as just Indians. Let's take the pledge to not confine ourselves into regional enclaves. The saffron, the white, and the green may exist individually, but when they come together, we should see only the tricolor. Patel himself believed that when manpower was harmonized and united properly, it would become a strength and a spiritual power. To face the threats to unity head-on in the modern context, perhaps we will all need to identify that element of strength and spiritual power in each one of us. As Patel saw it, the negligence of a few could easily send a ship to the bottom. But if it has the wholehearted cooperation of all on board, she could be safely brought to port. On that note, ahead of this August day, let's be thankful to the contributions of Sardar Patel and other founding fathers of our country and resolve ourselves that we will always maintain the unity and integrity they have envisaged for this great country, and we will see to it that the ship is safely brought to port. Once again, my good wishes to all of you ahead of the National Unity Day. Thank you for listening. Jai Hind.
Unity in the modern context. You were listening to a talk by Mr.Sreejith Panickar, researcher, debater, social critic and founder member of Mission Netaji. Thank you so much for listening. This broadcast came to you from the Thiruvananthapuram studios of All India Radio.